Hey everybody, it's Gypsy, and welcome to On the Edge of Appalachia. Today is Saturday morning, March 22nd, 2025, and I am on my way to the flea market. It's early morning. Anyways, so I was thinking, I've mentioned that I can hear spirits. So there's kind of been this running joke in my family, my family who has already crossed over, no longer in the physical realm. I've had a difficult life like many people do, and you get to this point, I think especially if you're very aware of the spiritual side of things and other realms, you get to this point where, okay, I'm tired of being tired. I'm tired of suffering. I'm just tired. I want to be formless again, Not that I'm suicidal, and I think most people who say that they're not suicidal, they're just like, okay, I've had enough, but then you recoup and everything. But anyways, so it's become a running joke because I kind of feel like I get this vision in my head that when I cross over, for me, a lot of people see a tunnel. When you talk to NDEers, near-death experiencers, I've never had an NDE, so I don't really know what it's like. But I get this vision of me in a race, running. And I cross the finish line, and there's a ribbon and stuff like that. I pictured that a lot. Now, my family makes up all these things, like having a party, and my mother and grandmother's making my favorite foods and stuff like that, even though we don't really cook. You just kind of manifest it. Anyways, but my dad recently started this thing where he keeps threatening me. He goes, I'm going to do it. Do what? Put that ribbon up and have you run across. And I'm like, yeah, this is something my dad would do. Okay, that he in the physical realm had a very dad jokes. My dad was the king of dad jokes and stuff like that. And you don't really lose your personality after you die. So yeah, when he said, I'm gonna put that tape up and have you run through it, when I cross over, the day I die, I'm like, yeah, probably will. Yeah, so anyways, it's just like when you hear NDEers share their experience, there's a lot of similarities, but you also see that a lot of people have, there are differences. Like, a lot of people will have a different experience. Now, there's a reason for this, okay? Like, all right, I'm a very spiritual person. I've always been aware of other realms, that there's life after death and all this stuff. So I always knew that we exist after death. We don't really die, just our bodies do. I mean, the first person I lost in my life was my maternal grandfather. We were very, very close. I was 10. And I remember, I was about, how would I know this at that age? I wanted to talk to him. My mom had, she explained to me beforehand as best she could to prepare me. Your grandpa's going to die. Do you know what this means? My mom was telling me, I said, no, I don't. I guess maybe for me, there's not really a thing as death. I mean, I mourn. Believe me, I cried when my son died, big time. I guess I couldn't understand why not. I had seen other beings and stuff like that. Different realms, different planets, spirits, stuff like that. So I couldn't understand, well, why not? And I remember at age 10, after my grandfather died, I'm sitting on my bedroom floor crying. And I was, like, Grandpa, where are you, etc. I think I was too distraught I felt his presence, I think. Always, my family has this thing with, he was on my left, I remember. My son did the same thing when he died. I mean, it's like, my family usually does the left-hand side. I'm getting it's more of a male thing. Like my mom, I always feel on my right-hand side. I'm 2 hours after my mother died. Because we had this joke. My mom, huge dog lover. She loves animals, but especially dogs. Well, she just loved my Sirius, my Great Pyrenees. So we would always, we would often bring him to the nursing home to visit my mom. And like, if we did, it would be like, where's my dog? And she always called my dog her dog. So 2 hours after she died, I remember I got the call, and I ran up the road to the nursing home. And, after I was done there, I came back home, and I had not let Sirius out. I love this view of the river. I had not let Sirius out. So the first thing I did was let him outside. And as I am letting him outside, I feel my mother. This is only 2 hours after she died. I feel my mother at my right-hand side. And I hear her say, and it was like she was younger, not like it was recently. I hear her say, he's still my dog. And I started laughing. I said, thanks, Mom. Because my mom had dementia, pretty bad. And I would say the last couple years of her life, she didn't look like my mother. She didn't sound like my mother. And I just got very obsessed at the end of her life. I want to hear my mom's real voice, her voice when she was younger. I mean, I remember thinking when my mom was in her 70s, I thought your voice changes when you get older, but my mother's didn't. But it eventually did, and she did not look or sound. And I just kept thinking, and I kept telling my family who crossed over, I want to hear my mom's voice. I need to hear mom's real voice. So that's the reason she said that to me. And she said it loud and clear. I don't always, most of the time, it's telepathic, but sometimes I will hear physically. Sometimes I'm not sure which one it is, but this time I think I may have heard her with my physical ears. Either way, I heard her very clearly in her voice, her real voice, that she had for my entire life until she got really, really sick. So it's like, I forgot how I got over here, but I was talking about what you experience when you die. Now, again, you will, but that was, I guess, I don't know what they had done the 2 hours previous when they met. My dad sang hugs and smooches. My mom and dad were in two different realms for way too long. My dad crossed over when he was 58. My mom was 57. My mom did not die until a year and a half ago. She was 83. So that's a long day. She refused, and my mom was a beautiful woman, refused. And I know there were men who were interested. She refused. Nope, my dad was the only one for her. That's it. She was waiting for him. It was a long wait, Mom. Anyways, so what they did, I don't know what my mom's homecoming was like, what the greeting was like. All I know, 2 hours later, she's at my house, teasing me about that, but she did that so that I could hear her voice again. I have heard her once or twice before, but extremely quick and brief. But it was like, I needed that, okay? But what you experience, you manifest yourself. So that's, some NDEers who are extremely religious, they have a hell-like scenario. Now, it's rare, because usually I think you get more realistic. But there's some people who are so focused on that there's a hell when there isn't really. You create your own, and in this case, you can. But it's rare. Which I think your homecoming after death varies from person to person, depending on what you want. Now, I really feel that, yes, my entire family and friends will be there, and we will have a party because this is how I grew up. My mom's side of the family is, Sicilian, Italian. Actually, I prefer Sicilian, but anyways, we used to have a huge family, huge. Always family get-togethers and stuff. It was typical, loud, noisy, pizza, pasta, everything. All this good food. Oh my God. It was fun. It slowly died down as my generation became adults. Now, I don't. The family I was born into, just like, is very tiny, and I have no contact with them. It's like they don't exist to me. Now, the family I created as an adult, I'm very close to. But because I have those memories and I think about them a lot, and I can talk to my family who has crossed over, I'm more like in tune with them where they are now. What's this truck doing? So it might be different for me than for others. So I will probably have that. Yes, my father will be holding the finish line tape, I am sure. One of my dad, one of my uncles, maybe it's the spirit realm, whatever. They're teasing me. Anyways, my dad, he's got 2 brothers over there now with him, and these quiet men are all of a sudden crazy. Anyways, he had my dad's side of the family. Most were quiet. Took after my grandma's side, Beckers. Anyways, so you do manifest what it is you believe. Okay, so it would be my suggestion, no matter how young you are, get started now on manifesting a beautiful crossing over. If you want your family there, start focusing on that. I mean, I focus on my family being there so much, in us having a typical family. My grandmother, my paternal grandma, I always talk about how she, removed, in fact, I showed it on a video, I did it myself, removing the kernels from the cob's corn. My grandpap and I would go out to the field and get corn, bring it to the kitchen. Grandma would, like a ninja, get those kernels off. And also her coleslaw, which my son and I had a discussion about yesterday, because we're having pulled pork done on the Traeger on Monday, and he goes, "You want to make coleslaw like your grandma did?" I said, "I don't make coleslaw." I said, "But Giant Eagle makes it just like my grandmother, so look at that." Anyways, get started focusing on it, because if you find yourself in a bad place when you cross over, unmanifest it. Focus on something beautiful. Focus on someone who has crossed over that you trust to help you, okay? But that's very rare. I'm not going to but yeah, it could, and if you're religious and, you expect Jesus or Muhammad, that's what you'll get. If you're religious and that's who you expect, that's who you're manifesting, that's beautiful, go with that, okay? Anyways, yeah, it is very real over there, but, like here they say, what you focus on grows. It's true. In the spirit realm, it's very instantaneously. And yes, your deceased loved ones, they hear your thoughts. They know what you're thinking about and stuff. They know what you need. Okay, yeah, things were very strange when my dad died. I needed to not hear from anybody, so I did not hear from him for 18 years until my son died. Whereas my mom, well, my son did too. My son came to me right away. It's like, could you let the police inform me first? I didn't see him, but I could feel him. Anyways, so they will, they'll give you what you need. Now, for another instance is when my dog Snuggles died. I had this cute little white Havanese dog, And he died while we were living on the road. I was heartbroken. And the very next morning after he died, I was going through my morning routine. You know, I was in the desert in Arizona. I was putting out my canopy for the day and putting up my shade screens because it gets hot there. And he died on May 1st, 2021. And I'm standing on my step stool putting up my shade screens. And I look down, and clear as day, as if he were still alive, he looked very solid, with Snuggles, just like he always did, sitting there looking up at me and watching me. And I looked down and I said, Snuggles. And I just had so much emotion that he just like kind of disappeared right before my eyes. I don't think he really did. He's with me a lot. I don't think he disappeared immediately. It's just when you have an emotional reaction that's very strong like that, it can remove your focus from the spirit realm. But your loved ones in spirit, yes, including your pets, will do, they will attempt to do what you need. You know, and if you're open to it, you'll see it. But you have to be open to it. Anyways, I just thought I would talk about my experience with that. And when it comes to dying, you know, everybody, if I talk about it, people think, no, I'm not suicidal. I'm just not afraid. We're all going to die. Our bodies are going to die. Not us, our bodies. Our bodies are just our vehicle here to get around better. So our bodies will die when the time comes, when the time is right. But it's going to happen to us all someday. That's why I like to talk about this stuff once in a while. I worked at a cemetery. I worked for hospice. It's kind of my thing. And you know what? When I did these jobs, I was very young. Now I'm 60. So rest assured, I don't know when I'm going. Nobody will tell me. But I will go someday. And we all will. So that's why I like to talk about it. There's nothing to be afraid of. You know, you're going to be, whatever you think is going to happen afterwards is probably what you're going to experience, whether it's actually real or not. You know, so don't you know, focus on something good. I hope you guys don't have silly family members like Uncle John's going to do what? Oh, my dad and my Uncle John, he's gonna hold the race tape. Yes, they are. Okay, yeah, because I remember we were talking about this last night, me and my dad family. One time I took my older son John to see the farm. It was the only time I got to take one of my children to see the family farm. And so usually, you know, in the past, my dad always drove. Well, my dad was dead. My grandpa was dead, you know. So, I got lost. You know, my family is from Fayette County in Pennsylvania. And live in a small town called Merrittstown. I ended up in Brownsville, Pennsylvania. In a very bad neighborhood. I called my grandma, because thankfully back then I had like a cell phone, which, you know, was the very beginning of cell phones. And I told her, all of a sudden I hear her, she calls my uncle, John, get on this phone, talk to this girl, she's lost. she was like scared. So I finally pulled up the drive. Now, the farm is on top of this hill, and it's a very long driveway, and I come up the driveway, and as I turn up around the bend, there's my uncle standing there with this smart ass smirk on his face because I got lost. My uncle crossed over a couple years ago, so he says he's going to help my dad hold the race tape that I can, you know, how the runners burst through it. Yeah, that's what they're going to do for me. So anyways, yeah, there's nothing to worry about, people. Don't hasten it, but on the other hand, don't worry about it either. So I am going to leave you with that because I'm just about, you can can tell because I'm in the city now. I hate being in the city. To the flea market. So I'm going to leave you with that. Blessed be and make it a joyful.